Welcome to our deep dive into the history of cancer. We're going to be looking at excerpts from Siddhartha Mukherjee's The Emperor of All Maladies.
Yeah, okay.
And we're hoping to kind of uncover how people thought about and treated cancer over the centuries.
Right.
I was thinking about this, and it's like kind of your crash course
Yeah,
into the history of cancer.
absolutely.
All those highlights from
Yeah.
ancient times to those revolutionary breakthroughs.
And what's so interesting is that cancer has really gone from being seen as like this mysterious, almost supernatural force
Right.
to this complex biological process that we can actually study now.
Like down to the molecule.
Right, exactly.
Amazing how far we've come.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's rewind all the way back to ancient Egypt.
Okay.
We're talking like 2500 BC.
Wow.
That's where we find the first written description of cancer.
Yeah. So there's actually this description of a bulging tumor in the breast,
Hmm.
and it was compared to a ball of wrappings.
Interesting.
What's striking is what they suggested as treatment.
I'm guessing they didn't have one.
They didn't. The text just says, there is none.
Wow.
Which really shows just how little they understood the disease back then.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine?
It's hard to even fathom.
No treatments at all.
And it really makes you appreciate, how far we've come with treatments today.
Totally, yeah.
But it also kind of shows that cancer has always been this challenge for humanity.
Yeah, always been there.
Always there.
Okay, so let's jump ahead to ancient Greece.
Okay.
This is where we get that idea of black bile, right?
Right. That was their theory for cancer.
Hard to believe that idea stuck around for centuries.
I know. It's largely because of this guy, Galen.
Oh yeah, the Roman physician.
Exactly. He was super influential.
Makes you wonder how long we've held on to ideas that are just wrong.
It really does.
But luckily, Galen's theories, they didn't last forever, did they?
Thankfully not. In the Renaissance, we have Andreas Vesalius.
Oh, the anatomist.
Yeah, and he really challenged those old beliefs.
Yeah, wasn't he the one dissecting all those bodies?
Yes. And you know what? He never found any evidence of black bile.
Well, there you go.
It was a huge turning point,
Yeah.
challenging the very foundation of how people thought about cancer.
Really shook things up.
Absolutely.
But even with this new understanding of anatomy, treating cancer,
it was still a nightmare.
still a nightmare.
Especially because, surgery was their main tool.
Right, and this was before anesthesia.
Right, and antisepsis. Can you imagine surgery with no pain relief
Oh my gosh.
and a huge risk of infection?
It's terrifying to think about.
It was brutal, really, and often not even successful.
Gosh, that just makes figures like Joseph Lister all the more important.
Oh, absolutely. He was a game changer.
Yeah, with his antiseptic techniques.
Exactly. Using carbolic acid to kill bacteria,
Wow.
It made surgery so much safer.
And that paved the way for guys like William Halsted, right?
Yeah, he was a brilliant surgeon.
But his approach was a bit, radical.
Oh, for sure. Especially for breast cancer.
Yeah, the radical mastectomy.
Taking out not just the tumor, but a ton of surrounding tissue.
Lymph nodes too, right?
Yes. And his techniques, they did make complex surgeries possible. But in the end, it didn't actually improve survival rates all that much.
Really? So even with better surgical techniques, it wasn't enough?
It showed the limitations of surgery, on its own.
Wow, that's incredible.
And then came this totally unexpected discovery.
What's that?
X-rays.
X-rays.
Wilhelm Röntgen stumbles upon them in 1895.
Wow.
Talk about a game changer.
So now you can see inside the body without cutting it open.
Exactly. The possibilities were huge.
Huge, especially for cancer, I bet.
Oh, for diagnosing and treating, absolutely.
It must have felt like, I don't know, having superpowers or something.
I know, right? And then you have Marie Curie and radium.
Oh, yeah, radium. Such a huge discovery.
Groundbreaking for cancer treatment, actually.
But it came at a cost, didn't it?
The huge cost, yeah.
I mean, didn't Curie herself suffer from radiation exposure?
She did. It damaged her bone marrow,
Wow.
led to anemia, and eventually her death.
That's so sad.
It's a reminder that even amazing scientific discoveries can have unintended consequences.
Yeah, for sure.
But this understanding of radiation, both its power and its dangers, is what led to the work of Henry Kaplan.
Kaplan.
Yeah, he was a pioneer in radiation therapy.
Interesting.
He figured out how to harness radiation in a more controlled way.
Like to actually cure cancer?
Well, he had success with Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Wow.
He used a linear accelerator, to deliver these really precise high-energy X-rays, minimizing damage to the healthy tissue around the tumor.
So now we have surgery and radiation.
Powerful tools.
But I imagine there was still that dream of finding, a magic bullet, right?
Oh, yeah, something that could just target and kill cancer cells.
Without harming anything else.
Exact.
And that's where Paul Ehrlich comes in.
The German chemist.
Yeah, he had this vision of a magic bullet.
I think that was around the turn of the century, right?
Yeah, like early 1900s.
A chemical that could, just wipe out the bad stuff.
Without hurting the patient.
Right. He was actually focused on infectious diseases.
Oh, interesting.
But his ideas were super important for the development of chemotherapy.
Ah, that makes sense.
The path to chemo was pretty roundabout, though.
How so?
Well, the discovery that nitrogen mustard could shrink tumors,
Yeah.
that actually came out of World War II.
Really? Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, it just highlights how even in war,
Yeah.
there can be scientific progress, even if it's accidental.
That's kind of a strange thought.
It is, right.
And then you have Sidney Farber.
Oh, Farber, he took this wartime discovery and did amazing things with it.
What did he do?
He's considered the father of modern chemotherapy.
Oh, wow.
He focused on childhood leukemia.
Oh, such a tough one.
Yeah, very aggressive,
Yeah.
often fatal.
Yeah.
And using a chemical from, that nitrogen mustard, he was able to get these kids into remission, at least temporarily.
That's huge.
It was a breakthrough. No one had ever been able to do that before.
And then there's Mary Lasker, right?
Oh, she was amazing.
Tireless advocate.
Along with Farber, they really brought cancer research to the forefront.
How so?
They pushed for more funding,
Hmm.
really helped shape the National Cancer Institute.
Wow.
Their efforts really set the stage for the war on cancer.
Oh, yeah. Nixon declared that in 71, right?
Yep, a whole national effort to beat this thing.
And it was during this time that combination chemotherapy came about.
Right, two oncologists, Emil Freireich and Emil Frey.
Okay.
They pioneered this really aggressive approach
Mm-hmm.
using multiple drugs at once.
To hit the cancer from all sides.
Exactly.
But I'm guessing those drugs had some nasty side effects, huh?
Oh, definitely. Trying to balance the effectiveness of the treatment with the patient's well-being.
Always a tough balance.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've seen these huge advancements in treatment, right?
Chem-
But what about understanding what causes cancer?
well, that actually started way before the war on cancer.
It did.
Take us back to 18th century England.
Okay, back we go.
This is where we meet Percival Pott.
Pot.
Yeah, he was a surgeon who noticed something interesting about chimney sweeps.
Chimney sweeps.
Yep. He noticed that they had a high rate of scrotal cancer,
Hmm?
and he linked it to their constant exposure to soot.
Ah, so now we're getting into the environmental causes.
Exactly. Pott was one of the first to connect an environmental factor to cancer.
Pretty amazing insight for the time.
It was groundbreaking.
Yeah.
His work really laid the foundation for cancer epidemiology.
Epidemiology, that's studying the patterns of cancer in a population, right?
Right, and what causes them.
Wow. And then you have the research of Dolan Hill.
Oh, they really nailed down the link between smoking and lung cancer.
Their study was massive, wasn't it?
They followed tens of thousands of British doctors.
Over how long?
Decades. They meticulously tracked their smoking habits.
And their health.
It was the definitive proof that smoking caused lung cancer.
Wow.
Their findings were huge for public health.
Changed everything, really.
It made it clear that some cancers could be prevented.
By changing our behavior.
Exactly.
I mean, that's amazing.
It really is a landmark study.
It shifted our whole understanding of cancer, didn't it?
Absolutely.
Like, it's not just this thing that happens to you.
Right.
It could be caused by things in our environment.
And our choices.
Powerful stuff.
For sure.
So we see these discoveries about the environment, right?
Yeah.
Really changed how we thought about cancer.
It was a huge shift.
It's not just biological. There are these external factors, too.
Exactly. It added a whole new layer to the puzzle.
And then, on top of that, we find out that viruses can cause cancer, too.
Right. That was a big one.
It's kind of mind-blowing,
Big one.
that something so small, like a virus, can have such a huge impact.
Baruch Blumberg, he discovered the hepatitis B virus and its link to liver cancer. That was the first real proof that viruses could cause cancer in humans.
Wow. And it just shows you, right?
Yeah.
The connection between our bodies and the world around us.
Totally. And speaking of connections, the story takes us even deeper now.
Deeper.
Into the cells themselves.
Okay.
This is where molecular biology comes in.
Ah, so this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, this is where things get wild.
Okay, tell me more.
So there's this discovery reverse transcription.
Reverse transcription.
It basically flipped the world of molecular biology on its head.
How so?
Well, up until then, everyone thought genetic information only flowed one way.
From DNA to RNA.
Exactly, the central dogma.
Right.
But reverse transcription showed that RNA could actually be turned back into DNA.
Whoa, hold on.
I know, right?
That changes everything.
It was revolutionary.
It's like rewinding a cassette tape, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like you can suddenly go backwards.
Exactly.
And this opened up this whole new world of research into retroviruses.
Retroviruses, those are the viruses that use reverse transcription, right?
You got it.
So everyone's looking for these human cancer-causing retroviruses.
Yeah, super hot area of research.
But there's a twist.
Good twist.
What happened? They find HIV.
HIV, the virus that causes AIDS.
Yep, and it's a retrovirus, but it doesn't cause cancer.
Wow, talk about a surprise.
Right. They were looking for one thing and found something completely different.
But still, hugely important.
Oh, absolutely. A major discovery.
And it just shows you science is unpredictable.
Totally unpredictable.
So while all this is going on, two researchers, Robert Weinberg and Harold Varmus,
Okay.
they make a game-changing discovery. Oncogenes.
Oncogenes.
Yeah, this was huge, wasn't it?
Hugely important. It really transformed our understanding of cancer.
So what are oncogenes exactly?
So basically, they're like altered versions of normal genes.
Normal genes that do what?
They control how cells grow and divide.
Okay.
And when these genes mutate, they can get stuck in the on position.
Trick on. Yeah, so the cells just keep growing and dividing uncontrollably.
Like a car with a stuck accelerator.
Exactly. Out of control growth, leading to cancer.
That's a great analogy.
And then to add to that, we have the discovery of tumor suppressor genes.
Tumor suppressor genes, okay.
These are like the brakes on cell growth.
Mm.
They keep things in check.
And when they're inactivated...
No more brakes, the cells can grow out of control.
So now we have this model of cancer where it's all about these genetic changes.
Right. The oncogenes are the gas pedal, tumor suppressors are the brakes.
And when that balance is messed up, you get cancer.
Exactly. And this idea revolutionized cancer research.
It's not just one disease, right?
No, it's all about understanding the specific drivers of each cancer.
It's like realizing there are tons of different car engines.
Exactly. Each with their own unique problems.
So that paves the way for targeted therapies.
Right. Drugs designed to attack those specific vulnerabilities.
Instead of just blasting everything with chemo.
Right. It's like a surgical strike instead of carpet bombing.
More precise.
Exactly.
And that's where Herceptin comes in, right?
Herceptin, yeah, that was one of the first big successes.
It blocks a protein called HER2.
In breast cancer.
Yeah.
It was a game changer for women with HER2 positive breast cancer.
But even with Herceptin.
There were still challenges.
Like what?
Not everyone responded to it, and some people developed resistance.
Resistance.
Yeah, the drug stopped working.
Ah, I see.
But even with those limitations, Herceptin showed what was possible.
It opened the door for other targeted therapies.
Absolutely.
And then we have Gleevec.
Oh, Gleevec, that was a huge breakthrough.
For chronic myeloid leukemia, right?
CML, yep.
It targets a specific protein.
That drives the growth of CML cells.
And the results were amazing, weren't they?
Incredible, yeah.
Like, it turned CML from a death sentence to a manageable condition.
For many patients, that's exactly what happened.
It's just mind-blowing.
I know.
That one drug targeting one protein can do that.
It really shows the power of understanding the molecular basis of the disease.
So are we in the era of personalized medicine now?
We're getting there.
But cancer is still incredibly complex, isn't it?
Oh, incredibly.
It's not just one disease. It's like 1,000 diseases.
That's what makes it so hard to treat.
All these different types with different characteristics.
That's what we call tumor heterogeneity.
Heterogeneity, okay.
It's like you're facing a constantly shifting enemy.
Always adapting.
Exactly.
And that's where personalized medicine comes in.
Right. Tailoring treatments to the individual.
Looking at their unique genetic makeup.
And the specific characteristics of their cancer.
It's like, instead of one size fits all, it's more like a custom-tailored suit.
A perfect fit.
So much more precise.
With genomics and all the data we can analyze now, we're getting closer and closer to making that a reality.
It's a really exciting time for cancer research.
Absolutely. There's so much happening.
But even with all this progress, cancer is still a huge problem, right?
It is, unfortunately.
I mean, people are still dying from cancer.
We've made progress. Death rates are going down.
That's good.
But there's still so much work to do.
Like what? What are the biggest challenges right now?
Well, drug resistance is a big one.
The cancer outsmarts the drugs, basically.
And tumor heterogeneity, that's always a challenge.
Yeah, those different types of cancers.
And then there's the environment and genetics.
It's just so complex.
It's a tangled web, for sure.
So where do we go from here?
That's the big question, isn't it?
What does the future hold for cancer research?
I think the future of cancer research is, well, it's incredibly exciting.
Yeah.
We're working on even more sophisticated targeted therapies. And then there's immunotherapy.
Oh, yeah. That's really interesting.
Harnessing the power of the immune system.
Powerful stuff.
We're also digging deeper into the genetics and molecular biology of it all.
So it's like a multi-pronged attack.
Exactly. Hitting cancer from all sides.
I like that.
And I really believe that with scientists, doctors, patients, everyone working together,
Yeah.
we can make even more progress in this fight.
I hope so.
Me too.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned immunotherapy.
Yeah.
That's really showing some promise.
It is. How does it work again?
Well, the basic idea is to train the body's own immune system
Okay.
to recognize and destroy cancer cells.
So it's like, what, our own personal army?
Exactly. Like an elite squad targeting the enemy.
Too cool.
And we're already seeing some amazing results with it.
That's great.
But there's still a lot to learn
Yeah.
about how to make it work for more types of cancer, you know?
Make it more effective.
Exactly. And then there are the side effects.
Right, because you're basically revving up the immune system.
Yeah, you have to be careful.
But the potential is huge.
Oh, absolutely. And we're seeing progress with cancer vaccines, too.
Vaccines, like to prevent cancer.
That's the idea.
Wow. Just like we have vaccines for the flu or measles.
Exactly. It might sound far-fetched.
It does, a little.
But it's something we're actively researching.
That's amazing. What else is on the horizon?
Oh, there's nanotechnology?
Nanotechnology. Okay, now we're talking science fiction.
I know, right? But it's being used to develop ways to deliver drugs directly to cancer cells with incredible accuracy.
Like tiny little robots or something.
That's the idea.
And then there's always the things we can do ourselves.
Oh, right. Lifestyle changes.
Yeah, things like diet and exercise.
You was not smoking?
Of course.
Those can make a big difference in our risk of developing cancer.
Yeah, prevention is key.
Absolutely. A lot of cancers can be prevented.
That's good to know.
It means we have some control, you know?
Yeah, we're not just helpless.
Exactly. We can take charge of our health.
So we've talked a lot about discoveries and technology.
And treatments.
But behind all of that, there are real people.
Right. People whose lives have been touched by cancer.
Patients, families, doctors, researchers.
It's important to remember that.
It is. We can't forget about the human side of this story.
Their stories are what keep us going.
The stories of hope and resilience.
And sometimes heartbreak.
Yeah, that's true too.
But those stories remind us why we do this work.
Exactly. It's not just about finding a cure.
Right. It's also about helping people live better with cancer.
Improving quality of life.
Managing symptoms, providing support.
Helping people live their lives to the fullest.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the history of cancer,
Yeah.
what's the one thing you want to leave our listeners with?
Well, I'd say the fight against cancer, it's far from over.
No, it's not.
It's tough, it's complex,
For sure.
but I think if we keep learning, keep working together,
Yeah.
and never give up hope, we can make a real difference.
I agree. Knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for joining us on this journey.
It's been my pleasure.
And to all of you listening, we hope this deep dive has given you a new perspective on cancer.
Yeah,
It's been a long and complicated history,
it has.
but we've come a long way.
And we're still learning and growing.
Keep asking questions. Keep exploring.
And remember, even small things can make a difference.
Absolutely. Like making healthy choices.
Or supporting cancer research.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks for having me.